Sam Altman has made some really big waves in a recent blog post he wrote. And this isn't a OpenAI blog post that we traditionally see kind of around the OpenAI products. This is his personal blog. He's got a bunch of really interesting personal reflections on what's going on with AI, with the company, with the whole landscape. Connor recently did a post on LinkedIn, which if you're not following him there, absolutely go and do that. All about this. He said it was so interesting he had to read it twice. So we're going to break everything going down with this down to you guys. This is very interesting. Connor, what was the most shocking thing you saw in this blog post?
I mean, this blog post blew up, right, Jane? It felt like it was released overnight. I don't think that's exactly right, but it was released sort of unexpectedly. And I think there's just quotes in here. Now, usually I would say take this with a grain of salt because, they're probably trying to raise money and there's the hype. But I don't know. I'm seeing these same types of quotes, not just from Sam Altman, but also from Dario Amodei, who left OpenAI to start Anthropic, which is a whole nother story, how huge and big they're doing. And Jaeden, I want your take on this too, because the quotes here don't seem to be overhyped. I think if you're not following carefully, I think they could seem like it. But when you're following like what the O1 reasoning model is for ChatGPT, the coming O3 model is, etc. The one that grabbed everybody's attention, the quote out of this blog was this. I'm going to read it verbatim. He says, "We are now confident we know how to build AGI as we have traditionally understood it. We believe that in 2025, we may see the first AI agents, quote unquote, join the workforce and materially change the output of companies." So a couple of things. So first of all, we've done this a little bit, but I want to make sure when we say AGI, people actually know what it is. It's one of those terms where you can kind of hear and kind of get it. So
Yeah.
AGI means artificial general intelligence. That differs from what was traditionally ANI, I guess, artificial narrow intelligence, which was AI that could perform a job. Artificial general intelligence is the kind of thing where it can perform human level capabilities across really pretty much any role. And the reason that that's such a big deal is that it felt like that was kind of being referred to as when these machines can really just sort of take over. It's also, side note, important because when OpenAI and Microsoft formed their partnership, they said that everybody could benefit all the way until AGI was achieved. And it felt like this moment where all of a sudden the computer would open its eyes and come to life. It doesn't exactly mean that. It does mean, though, that when Sam Altman is saying that we may see this, sooner rather than later, they already know how to build it. That's startling because they're already moving on to the next quote, which is, "We are beginning to turn our aim." The idea that they're already turning their aim from AGI, which felt to a lot of people like the finish line. This is a quote, "We are beginning to turn our aim beyond that AGI to super intelligence in the true sense of the word. We love our products, but we're here for the future. With super intelligence, we can both." Okay, so super intelligent tools, this is the same quote, "could massively accelerate scientific discovery, innovation, et cetera, et cetera." He also says, by the way, and in turn, massively increase abundance and prosperity. I'd like to unpack that a little bit. But let me just end on this. AGI is when these computers can essentially perform human level tasks. Super intelligence is when they're going to crush us on everything. So, Jane, the fascinating thing to me, and there's a lot of quotes we can dive into here, but do you think he's right? And not whether or not he might be mistaken, but more like, is this hype? Is it not hype? Because to me, I don't know. There feels like enough hype. It feels like they actually really believe this.
Yeah, so I think that they've demonstrated that they actually do have a great path to AGI, ASI, whatever they want to call it or change the definition. It's kind of funny because artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence, the definitions, and I'm sure we're gonna have 5 new terms too that are gonna pop up. And I don't know, it's funny because there's like a lot of these are in contracts between OpenAI and Microsoft, and the current
Right, right,
contract
right.
is AGI is defined as a system that can make $100 billion. Well, I mean, there's plenty of systems that make $100 billion that I wouldn't classify as AGI. So at whatever point OpenAI reaches that, they've like kind of reached AGI in the clause. So, anyways, I think the terms matter a little bit less. The benchmarks are more interesting to me when we see how they're actually benchmarking these systems, how good they are. But I do believe whatever you want to call it, AGI, ASI, we're getting there, and they've shown that they have a path to essentially achieving it, getting smarter, getting as smart as they want it to be. And the only limitation that they have in achieving this is just compute power and
Right.
cost, which comes down to energy. So compute, cost, energy, these are the three things we focus. If they can get the costs down, then more people can have it. So what I believe is that big companies, big government organizations, people with big budgets, they will have the super intelligence. They'll have the AGI, they'll have the smartest and the best, because all it takes is you to give it, $15,000 per response, and you're going to have incredible responses. And I have no doubt that the CIA or any other government entity or any other massive executive at Google is going to have access to these kinds of tools. The question in my mind is, will the average person get it? The response, it feels like, is no. But I think there's a bunch of things that can be done. So I think that's really what it's going to come down to. Like, it was, OpenAI was designed as kind of giving AI back to the people. And all of a sudden we found out, turns out the more money and compute you give it, the better it gets. And it seems like it's just going to be kind of the top 1% of people that are paying that are going to get the best results and going to always kind of have an edge, which is standard, I guess, right? If you think of like hedge funds, they're set up because they have computers that can trade at milliseconds faster than the average person, and they're going to spend hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars for those things. So it's like the concept isn't very foreign in our economy, but I don't know, something about it feels like this isn't the purpose of AI. It's not giving back to the people, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
No. But this is a good question, right? Because when, back in the day before this all sort of started to turn to more for-profit leanings and things like that, there was really this sense that this was for the people. I mean, the whole reason that the clause was in there around AGI with Microsoft was this idea that nobody should be able to have control over this. Nobody should be able to have power this huge. The government should be involved. We should just like literally kind of shut it off at that point, turn it over to the government. I don't think anybody thought that was realistic even back in the day. And when I say back in the day, I mean like 2 years ago or something like that. But this has all been happening way faster than I think anybody expected. And the other thing is that the wording of Sam Altman's post is really interesting, right? It's like we now have a path. And I think that I've seen this in other OpenAI employee tweets and posts and things like that, which is essentially, we now know the path. We now know the path. And I think that all comes from the new reasoning model and the different way that that these tools are essentially working. It seems like it's taken a fork and now all of a sudden it's going to get very, very fast. But I think that the interesting thing to me on this is maybe not whether or not it's coming, because it really does seem it's coming, is number one, how do they define it? And now I know that they have defined it, Jaeden, as you just said, can it make $100 billion in profits? That just seems so sad and lame to me, that this is about
So
profits
lame.
instead of about like, will this take care of humanity and wrap us in its robot arms and make us happy forever and not have to work anymore. Now instead, it's just how much money. When you're talking about a company that can make $100 billion, you are not talking about the little guy. So when it says this is going to bring abundance and prosperity, look, I don't actually disagree with that. I think it actually will. Now, whether it would also increase the divide, I also don't disagree that it will probably do that too. So this is the interesting part. It's kind of like in the weeds. We can't possibly say what's going to happen, but it's in the weeds of like what the impact is going to be, right?
Yep, 100%. I think this is going to be really interesting. At the end of the day, I love the ChatGPT OpenAI technology. I feel I've just found myself more and more recently being like skeptical of maybe the motives of the whole company, but I don't know, maybe that's me. There's a lot of lawsuits and a lot of stuff going on. So I think at the end of the day, the good news that I feel like I can share is that we do have a lot of players in the space. We have a lot of really good competition. If OpenAI was the only company with this really advanced AI, maybe they would use it for bad or something. There's a bigger temptation, but I think there's a lot of competitors. You have Anthropic, you have XAI, you have Google's, you have Microsoft. Yep. There's a lot of different players to keep it in check. So for people that might have that concern of, is this just going to exclusively go to really rich people? Well, maybe that also will happen. But anyways, I do feel like the good news is there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of competition. People can vote with their dollars on whatever company they like the most. And while OpenAI is the leader, they do have the most money and resources right now. There's a lot of other big players that have a lot of resources. You have Meta, Google, XAI, Anthropic. So I'm excited overall on the, and I
And sorry, Jane, I was just saying that also ones that are focused specifically on safety, right? So
Yep.
like you have the Anthropic, which kind of like made its name because it was supposed to be the safer one. And then you have Elias Escobar has gone off and raised whatever $1 billion or whatever it is to have, super safe, super intelligence or whatever it was called, safe super intelligence. Like, so it's not even just competition. I totally agree. Competition is great. But also there seems to be real value in this other product, which is just as powerful in an Anthropic or something like that, which is also extremely, not that OpenAI isn't safe. I think it is.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it. But you're totally right. I think where it's also just this idea that it's not just competition, it's also competition that's saying like, hey, we're going to be this, but we're also going to be safe. And that really sort of like tries to drag everybody back to their North Star of like, we're going to create this for humanity. I hope.
Yep, 100%. One last thing I'll say on this is you touched on this earlier, but like even Anthropic being born was because their CEO came out of OpenAI. And I think something really cool that OpenAI has done, and a lot of people criticize them. They're like, look, the whole founding team is leaving. This is very normal.
Right.
A lot of these people are very smart. They created something very useful. They're very high in demand. And I'm actually very excited by the way that OpenAI has kind of had all of these people, high quality caliber people, kind of splinter off and start their own things. So essentially, the whole founding team, Ilya going and getting $1 billion to start his own thing. To me, all of this is very exciting. I think we're gonna. It proves that the space is not to just one small group of people controlling
Right.
everything. We're
Right.
splitting off. We're making competition. We're building new things and making a lot of innovation. So I'm very excited for how this goes. It's amazing. We're at the 2-year anniversary of ChatGPT. This is an incredible time. We've come so far with this company. There's so much to reflect on, and really excited about the future with AI and agents that we're going to be seeing this year in 2025. We'll keep you up to date on all of it.
Yeah, no, this is great. So, listen, go read that blog post for yourself. Really, really easy read. I think you'll be sort of pretty stunned by it. But this is AI applied, so you want to think about how this applies to you. So a lot of this is sort of like future looking, but it also means that you have to be thinking about this for you, for your company, for your career, and for your teams. And you can still be the expert in this. That is the exciting part. So if you enjoyed this episode, as usual, we do ask one thing. Would you consider leaving a rating and review? It would just be the best. It would be the best. Jaeden and I would talk about it all day. We could be pen pals with you, whatever it takes, guys. Like all we want to do is get that rating review. It makes us so, so happy. So thank you for even considering it, and have an amazing rest of your day.